Arne became the first Dutch manager to win the Premier League when Liverpool finally got over the line after beating Tottenham Hotspur yesterday. It's been an incredible first season for him. Had to follow in the footsteps of one of the club's greatest managers in Jurgen Klopp. Let's find out how the story is being reported back in his home country with Dutch football journalist Arthur Renard. Joins me now. Good to see you. I mean, let's talk about it then. How is it, perceived back in the Netherlands, what he's achieved?
Yeah, incredible. He already achieved really good things in Holland. So people are maybe not that much surprised. But obviously first year, succeeding Klopp, they are in that way, they're really impressed. And also obviously he's the first Dutch manager who wins the Premier League. So I would say he is just kind of like continuing his rise, and how people perceive him.
I mean, there's been lots of praise for his style of management. So can you explain what style you think he is?
Yeah, I think he's a manager who possesses like both the tactical side and the management side really well. Just to give an example, I was speaking to a player who played under him at Feyenoord, Oussama Idrissi, and he told me a story how his wife was about to give birth, and the same day they were playing Ajax for the semi-final in the cup. Really important game, and he was in doubt. Should I, attend my wife, be the family man, or should I be the ultimate athlete and be there with the team? And Slot said, well, I'm making the choice. You going to your wife, that's the most important. So he did. His wife gave birth, and the same evening he was still able to play.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and I think that sums it up for me, that he is always emphasizing on the personal side. And players feel that. You always hear about, from players, his honesty, his clarity as well. Like in team talks, on the training pitch as well. Like, the repetition, like over and over doing like a lot of exercises, and that makes it clear. And you have heard Liverpool players, I think I read something from Trent, the same, when you come in at halftime, it's really clear, what he says about the opponent, where you can kind of hit them. And I think he literally said something, if you follow what I do, you will win the game. And that's what, often happens.
Yeah, clearly it works.
Yeah.
I mean, Alisson was saying, he did a lovely interview actually ahead of the game yesterday. He sort of said that Jurgen Klopp, his kind of big thing was speaking. That was his value. But it feels like Slot has got that in abundance too, but just in a very different way.
I think you're spot on. You should never try to replicate someone. And clearly that's not possible. But you're right, the way he deals with the media, I think a lot of the times there's a nice kind of chemistry there. And you're right, with the players, that's what I'm hearing as well, that there is a really good kind of with all the teams he has managed, So I think that is a really good way to sum that up. It's in a different way, but he has that as well.
How come he's been so successful? You talk about being the first Dutch manager to do it, and either fairly or unfairly, Dutch managers have had a pretty tough time, certainly over here.
Yeah.
Erik ten Hag, Frank de Boer, Ruud van Nistelrooy as well. Do you think Slot is changing that perception right now?
I think in Holland it's slightly different. Obviously we had Hiddink at Chelsea who did really well, although a short time, but he did well. Of course, it's obviously nice for people in Holland to have somebody like Slot now, but especially as well the first season of Ten Hag at Man United was pretty good. So it's maybe a bit more of a balanced view, but he definitely helps us in our kind of the way we're perceived over here.
What about his style? Has it evolved, do you think, from his time at Feyenoord, even though he achieved so much with them?
Yeah, a good question. Maybe a little bit. Obviously the core is exactly the same. Putting pressure and just wanting to play, like a real kind of attacking, footballing, way. But I would say maybe sometimes a little bit more realistic. I think the PSG game was a really good example, especially away, where you could see, well, okay, he probably realized, okay, we're kind of they're having the better of us tonight, and kind of okay, we accept that and not try to maybe be attacking all the time so that we get exposed. So I would say there are games where you can see maybe a little bit. So slightly.
Okay. In terms of you talked about his man management, how important is it that Virgil van Dijk and Mo Salah have signed their contracts, and how big a part will he have played behind the scenes in that, do you think? Yeah,
really, first of all, really important that they extended their deals, because obviously Virgil as a captain and Mo with all his goal contributions is so important to the team. I think that's an interesting question. You obviously never know exactly what kind of pressure he put on the directors. Like, okay, get those, deals done and everything. And I think that is also his strength. Other managers are openly via the media. There are examples. Like really airing their frustrations. Yeah, there's still no deals, but he keeps everything in house.
He doesn't wear his heart on his sleeve, does he?
In that way, with those important things, he's so clever. And that's another thing, his kind of like his mindset. He will also never talk about an opponent, we will win this one. Or he's always like praising the opponent to avoid, a situation where, the opponent can put something in the dressing room. Oh, look what their manager said. Those kind of things happen. But he's always, he thinks about all the things really well.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, they've got quite a strong Dutch contingent, haven't they, Liverpool now? And Cody Gakpo, Ryan Gravenberch, who he's brought on, you'd have to say, in leaps and bounds. Virgil van Dijk, of course. How much do you think he's been an influence on their games?
Yeah, big, especially Gravenberch, I would say, because he was more a number 8. And when Slot came, I think they from the first day or first moment they spoke about him being more a number 6. Obviously, he has been one of the revelations of the season. So his game, you can really see Slot's influence. But also interesting is like that Slot said before, sometimes it's just the way I formate the team that individuals looks better. So I don't know if he really added a lot, let's say, to Virgil's game, but by the way of formating the team, Virgil also maybe looks even more kind of present, maybe even more visible, in the things he's doing. Yeah. So it's really the collective where the individual even shines even more.
Yeah, certainly Mo Salah was kind of saying, look at my numbers, he's definitely improved my game. In terms of what's happening now, is he only getting started? What do you think he can do next? He's got it better this season, hasn't he?
Yeah, no, there's nothing, now where you can say, well, there are doubts, even the Champions League, they were just probably unlucky that they got PSG then. But I would say next year as well, Champions League, they're one of the, you can say already one of the favourites, and Premier League definitely. So it looks bright.
Okay. Always a controversial subject when people attempt to rank players, but where does Virgil van Dijk rank for you, do you think? Is he the best centre-back in the Premier League, in the world? Where
for me personally, one of the best. I think as well, I think of someone as Vincent Kompany. Both I kind of like, see them really as big leaders in how they have kind of not only helped their team, but also kind of raised the profile of the club. So yes, there's a few, even Jaap Stam back in the day at Man United, but especially I think of Kompany and Van Dijk as two who really kind of like helped their club. Kompany at Man City, they started to win those trophies. Van Dijk at Liverpool the same. So those two for me stand out.
All right, brilliant as always. It's lovely to talk to you. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks a lot.